cannot have healthy people in a sick place.
Healthcare professionals have an incentive to create healthier people down the line. It makes no sense if you are helping people get better and then putting them back out into the environment that made them sick in the first place.
My life would be so much different if cities were much healthier.
Making cities better is a really amazing blueprint for making our planet healthier too.
Perhaps the generation today is the first generation that will leave the planet better than they found it.
I absolutely refuse to accept the narrative that it's too late.
If we don't do something radically different now, we will lose our chance to do anything.
The idea that our personal health is so interconnected with planetary health, it makes sense, it connects with people. In 1950, around 750 million people lived in urban areas. By 2050, this number is projected to surge to nearly 5 billion. With such immense population pressure on the planet's urban centres, how are cities adapting? And have we reached a tipping point? In the 21st century, is there a way for our cities to be healthy?
What is a healthy and sustainable city? Healthy for whom? For the citizens, for the planet? Fortunately, the two overlap totally.
What for you is a healthy city?
A place with a lot of green spaces.
City where I can walk and there is public services and also parks.
Driverless trains run by electricity like the DLR.
More public transportation on a consistent schedule so there could be less cars.
A good balance between nature and kind of like a cosmopolitan concrete jungle.
I think about people coming together, to be honest.
Green space, for sure.
I think urban health means that people are able to live their lives and able to thrive, and they're not held back.
Urban health is multidisciplinary. Nothing can be achieved in terms of supporting comprehensive health and well-being without bringing in all different disciplines, all different sectors together.
I think the biggest problem is the way we live our lives, in terms of how we drive our cars, how we heat our homes, and that leads to significant issues relating to the health of the population.
And we know what to do, it's just that the choices are not being made to support health, instead choices are being made that hurt health, and I think those are really big challenges for urban health today.
We need to be empowered to make better choices, and we can't do that without government, and we can't do that without corporates. We can't do that without urban planners thinking about urban design and thinking about how to help us to spend more time in green spaces and have green spaces even accessible.
Healthy cities create healthy people, and healthy cities will create a better world to live in. This is about everyone coming together, sharing ideas, working as a global team, and collaborating cross-industry with the goal of improving our urban environments.
I think you try to use the power of design by harnessing the goodwill of those who, in partnership with the designer, the architect or the urbanist, have a shared sense of values, a belief in the future, and a belief in a brighter and cleaner future. So these lessons are not new. I'm not creating them. They're out there for everybody to learn from.
So interventions through the lens of health will be beneficial for the city, for the community, and also for the planet. The paradox over here is that the health sector itself contributes to the climate crisis.
If we're going to preach at anybody about what anybody else should do, we need to do it to ourselves first.
The Healthy Cities programme was designed to give people the chance to improve the health of the place they live in by doing something to improve their own health.
It originated quite a few years ago, actually, in Spain, about 9 years ago.
We started talking and working on individuals' health, and we realized that taking care of people implied and involved taking care of the environment in which people live.
To build sustainable, positive habits that will keep us healthier, but also the planet healthier.
The rapid and expansive growth of urban areas worldwide has often resulted in urban wastelands where populations are almost completely absent. Being so close to the city, these areas hold significant potential for enhancing the health and vitality of urban green spaces and the people who live around them.
We are part of nature. We are not something else. And we have forgotten how important for us is the contact with biodiversity and nature.
In Madrid, Bupa Sanitas have collaborated with the WWF to take a wasteland and develop it into an urban Eden.
Guys, it's going to be a challenge with this. We are placed in the southeast of the community of Madrid. Our work here is based mainly in the restoration of the ecosystem. So for that reason, we decided to generate these small lagoons. And this is the project of the restoration of the wetland. For the people, for the wildlife, and for the nature also. Este proyecto va a ser esto en un futuro.
I think we have a responsibility as a healthcare organization to make people aware of that connection between health and the environment, that we are dependent of a healthy environment to live and to thrive.
We have an imperative to conserve nature, to conserve biodiversity. We're much more dependent on biodiversity than we realize. By encouraging biodiversity, we reduce the risk of infectious diseases carried by animals.
We started working with Sanitas Bupa 3-4 years ago. The alliance is under the umbrella of One Health.
Bupa contribute because they put the focus on ecosystems like wetlands that are very important for the future of the human being.
I put the name of the species and the site. This is very important for us because wetland restoration is not just doing the things in the lagoons. It's very important to have a surrounding ecosystem to support the biodiversity of the area.
To recover this place, we need to introduce different species and different ages of the trees and open space and make it closer to a river ecosystem.
It's not only WWF restoring these places, it's restoring these places with local communities for them and to ensure that in the future these places will be healthy and the communities living around will be also healthy.
We are not separated. The cities and the countryside, we are belonging to the same system.
We don't need to invent anything. We have the solutions, have the technology, have the money. We need decisions and we need emotions.
Success for this project will depend on experts and organizations from diverse fields, from architects to technologists, coming together with a shared goal, learning from one another along the way. The health of a city goes far beyond focusing on the physical well-being of its inhabitants. But sometimes the answers are obvious.
When I was a young architect some 6 decades ago, I believed passionately that if you had a view, if you had sunlight, then it would improve the quality of life. That's now been scientifically proven. These are quantifiable. This is coming back to the data.
Sometimes this can be as simple as a plant in a pot.
So we've been slowly building native gardens to bring back birds, insects, all sorts of wildlife, pollinators, bees, to just encourage our plants to grow a little bit better, but also expand nature.
It's about building communities of people, for people.
Fundamentally, sustainability is about collaboration. This is about partnerships, it's about working with people. But if you want to involve the community in the work that Bupa is doing, if you want to have greater scale and impact, doing it here in urban environments is absolutely where you need to be in markets like Australia.
We wanted to tackle the challenge of how can people in our towns and cities do something simple and fun to help nature. And we came up with nature blocks.
Thankfully, I've got a few volunteers here today to help me plant some more herbaceous sort of wildflowers back into my garden. There's a lot of our wildlife, even in urban cities or in Melbourne or wherever you might live in this country, that are really struggling.
We want it to be that people can take simple actions that make a difference and help them feel they're connected to and having an impact on the big environmental challenges of our time.
Nature blocks are cool, they're really important. We're doing a big scale here, but if you're doing them at home, you just need one plant. Or we're encouraging people to build a square metre of garden, which is only 3 or 4 plants. But if you've only got space for a pot and one plant, if it's a nice flower, the native bee or the bee will find it.
I've made 3 new friends today, which is great. And it's just about going out, making those connections the same way you connect with nature when you're volunteering and giving back, like today.
It feels really good to be able to feel like you're physically doing something to help. Like every single little thing counts. And that's all you really can do. Just do what you can. And it always makes me feel better.
I think it's so important to bring people together. We need to restore that sense of community. To me, the natural environment and nature is far and away the most universal opportunity we have to connect people. This call to care for the world we live in lives deep within all of us. People do want to make a difference. You just got to make it easy for people.
So you might think it's nothing to put 1 plant or 4 plants in a pot. But if 100 people do it, all of a sudden it's a big area. And if 1,000 people do it, we're starting to make a real difference.
In modern societies, amid high-rise buildings and 9-to-5 office routines, people are spending more time indoors than ever before. Moving from one building to another, disconnected from natural rhythms and overstimulated by technology, urban dwellers have become distanced from the natural world they evolved alongside. But they may have lost something even more fundamental, a sense of connection with their neighbours.
Social isolation and loneliness, it is increasing exponentially because of the way that we've designed our cities.
To tackle this WHO-recognised global public health concern, it's important to support projects that bring people together, often in nature, to benefit the environment and the people.
Arguably, the most important places that we have is where we collectively come together in public spaces. But communities themselves are the key to sort of transforming and changing the places that they live.
I'm Lynn Allison and I'm the president of Westgate Biodiversity, Billy Nursery and Land Care. It's a community group which has for the last 24 years or so revegetated the 40 hectares that we know of as Westgate Park. We're surrounded by big roads, the bridge itself, the port. You know, it's not a very hospitable place, but nonetheless, you know, what astounds us and gives us great joy is what's turned up here. We put the plants in the ground, but we didn't bring the blue-tongued lizard or the 175 species of birds that have come to this park and been recorded. The number of species keeps going up, and that's because this is a healthy environment for plants and people. We don't get funding for what we do. We do rely on corporate organisations to come to the park, give us both their funding and their energy, and that's been a really important part of what we do.
So the Landcare movement is made up of 6,000 landcare groups all across the country. Half of those are in urban areas. Of those 6,000 landcare groups, there's 140,000 volunteers. Places like Westgate Biodiversity here that are so close to the city provide an excellent opportunity for volunteers to come down. We actually did a study about the well-being benefits that people experience, and we found that people that are involved in their local landcare groups actually get physical health benefits and mental health benefits.
I think a lot of us, we travel out of Melbourne and try and find lovely bushy areas, but for me, Westgate Park satisfies all of those needs, and I can get in my car and, you know, be home in 5 minutes. So this is now a very loved and a very well appreciated park. It's important from a biodiversity perspective. We have rare plants here that are not anywhere else in Melbourne.
We're so lucky in this country to have a volunteer movement such as Landcare, because there are volunteer groups that have been in existence for 30 years in some cases, and they know what's important in their local environment. They know what's going to grow there. They know how it's going to work and what inputs need to be put in place to make it happen, and they know how to engage their local communities.
When it comes to the vast range of challenges facing urban environments, there's rarely a one-size-fits-all solution. However, when communities unite to take a stand, the benefits are always profound. Hong Kong is one of the most densely populated urban areas in the world, but its challenges are not unique. With an ever-growing plastic pollution crisis, organisations like Green Earth are on the front line, looking to tackle this plastemic and drive environmental change.
My name is Edwin Lau. I'm the founder and executive director of a local green organization called the Green Earth. So I started the organization focusing on policy advocacy work, community education, and also engage the corporate employees for them to understand every one of us has a role, has a key role to safeguard our environment. So there should be a beautiful beach with the sand, with water out there. But the people's soul today is full of plastic debris. Plastic waste can last 450 years or even 1,000 years in our nature. These plastic debris start to disintegrate into smaller pieces of plastic. Eventually, in the bloodstream of human beings.
Microplastics have only relatively recently gained public attention, but their potential impact on individual health could be enormous and long-term.
Basically, human species is just one tiny part of the entire ecosystem. The bottle you get into the water will become microplastic. Microplastic will adhere to carcinogenic particles. And at some point, you eat the fish, you eat the seafood like the mussels, oyster, and then that's why actually you have a high risk of getting cancer.
This makes them realize protecting the environment is protect your own health or your children's health. All these bad consequences will somehow, someday, will come to us. Every company will have the resources and the manpower to do a lot more. Internally, they have educate their employees, even their employees' families, members. Then they have quite a big pool of people they can reach out to. So everyone contributes a part towards one goal, a healthy environment for all, then all the good things will come along. Simple as that.
In just 1 hour, the Bupa volunteer team collected over 26 kilos of plastic from the beach. The scale of this problem is enormous, one that humans alone may struggle to fully address.
我就係即係土生土長香港嘅，就係即係喺度做咗40年嘅。以前有魚味㗎嘛，但係依家冇魚味。點解咧？冇咗微生物，所以佢就冇咗個即係嗰啲海鮮味道啦。
But could technology and innovation be the key to helping us overcome it?
So about 3 years ago, me and my co-founder were actually in university, and we were kind of almost looking for problems to solve. We found out about the garbage issue. And we realized one of the biggest challenges was that there was money and there was manpower available to solve the problem, and there was intention, but there weren't the right tools. So they were going out and pulling it out with nets or by hand, and that's simply not scalable.
Bupa's eco-disruptive program looks to find the next generation of problem solvers and environmentally creative innovators. Clearbot were one of the 2023 finalists.
So Clearbot is an alternative to the traditional way of managing water waste. So this is our Clearbot Class 2, a mid-size version of our machine. So what Clearbot does is that Clearbot has an electric boat, which means it produces zero pollution. In fact, it's completely solar charged. So as it's driving around, it's not creating any emissions. It goes out, it collects garbage out of water bodies. What you'll see is the front of the boat is actually shaped like a funnel. So as it's driving around, it's actually funneling all the water through it. And then in the middle, you'd see a conveyor belt, right? So all the waste is getting picked up by that conveyor belt out of the water, and it goes into the back where you can see the waste is collected up. And then we actually use machine learning to generate data on what we've collected so that we can figure out what the source of the waste is, so that eventually you're also able to control the problem on land. Our goal is hopefully that, not only are we making the place cleaner, not only are we creating a better environment for marine life, but we're actually creating a better environment for the community who lives here. There's a lot of healthcare issues. So for example, you'll see a lot of the community here actually catches fish straight out of this water. And we know from our collections that this water is full of microplastic, which means most likely the fish are eating that plastic and then you are eating that fish, right? And so very often it's actually poison that kind of goes down the food chain into eventually us.
But Clearbot does more than just clear the water of plastics.
What we're trying to do is actually clean the water, so solve the problem at that layer. But also using the data, you can identify what kind of materials are ending up in the water so that you can have better policy and make sure that those materials don't exist in the first place. Without data, the government cannot justify its own decisions. And so the data actually is a very important piece in terms of solving this issue long term. This is an absolutely solvable problem. We need the right resources and we need the right motivation for it to happen. We're going to have to, so I'm optimistic, yeah.
So often it is the microscopic, invisible issues that cause the most damage. There is, however, one issue affecting the health of the global urban population potentially more than any other.
We know statistically that bad air kills millions.
Air pollution causes 7 million premature deaths every year.
And it's a staggering statistic to say that 99% of the global population are exposed to air pollution at levels that are well above what the WHO regards as safe. The way air pollution affects our health is via the lungs. But people don't realize that actually some of those particulates, when they get into the lungs, they transfer from the lungs into the bloodstream, and over many years cause what we describe as systemic inflammation. Big breath in, and can lead to increased risk of strokes, of cancer, of heart disease. And it's not just diseases, it's quality of life, and it is ultimately life expectancy.
I have suffered with asthma for over 30 years now. Asthma for me, living with it and daily, it's just a battle. For me, my worst asthma situation was a few years ago. I lived in London, I lived in Arsenal. I had 15 attacks in 1 year. The risk of having an asthma attack in a polluted area is higher because, it's significantly worse because of the pollution. So I just feel like I'm drowning. I feel like I'm drowning and there's nothing I can do until I get the help I need from a doctor. My daughter's 2 years old. The fact that there's a very good chance she's asthmatic, the risk is high. She was in hospital last month. I have a voice to make sure that she never, ever, ever is like me. I won't let it happen. I can't. I'm my dad's child, and my dad sees me suffer, and it kills my dad. It kills him. And then him finding out that his grandchild is the same. I can make that difference for her, and that's my job as her mum. We should be able to make a difference. Without my health, I don't have a life. I don't have a quality of life. That's why I made a decision to move out of London, where I've got green parks on my doorstep, I've got the coast half an hour away, and I'm in less of a built-up area. I shouldn't have to spend 30 plus years on medication to just breathe. I had a choice to make, my health or my career, and I chose my health.
The impacts of air pollution can be truly life-altering. It is essential to partner with hands-on organisations dedicated to making a meaningful difference in the lives of people, young and old, in urban areas.
So Trees for Cities is an urban tree planting charity. Our mission is all about planting, protecting and promoting urban trees and green spaces. So we're trying to get people connected to nature through getting involved in the actual planting in the projects all around them and in their local communities.
Trees for Cities are a really important partner because they work directly in cities in areas of need.
Compared to our great-grandparents, the incidence of allergy and asthma in young people under the age of 35, is 10 times more common. And the rather simplistic but likely plausible explanation is that we're increasingly living in a more artificial world.
Town Farm Primary School in London are now teaching their young children about the issues caused by poor air quality and what they can do to help.
My class specifically were involved in an air pollution project. We are right next to Heathrow Airport, so we are very conscious of the pollution levels that might be created by that industry. We're an inner city school, there's lots of traffic, so it's important for our children to understand what healthy levels are and to see what we can do to change those levels in and around where we are at school.
The higher the number, the more air pollution.
All stakeholders in healthcare should see air pollution as a high priority. Poverty and air pollution goes hand in hand, and children are compromised as a result of being in that situation.
We are seeing lives lost. The conversation about climate change must become a conversation about the health of every single one of us.
We know the answers. All we have to do is have the political will.
The opportunities here are that if we responded in the right way to the air pollution crisis, we can save so many lives.
Air pollution doesn't affect us all equally. Those who've done the least to cause climate change are impacted the most.
We're often told that improving health, improving climate is about the individual, but it's not. It's about us coming together.
So if a city were to thrive, it needs to have everybody involved.
There is an inevitable arc of devastation and degradation. There's no denying it, but there's also equally an upward curve of innovation, of change, of momentum to do better and to build better, and I hold on to that hope.
We have the means at our disposal to be able to achieve those goals. So I think there are very good reasons to be optimistic.
I've been doing this work for over 2 decades, and the fact that there is always new energy and new people who are refusing to give up And that helps me refuse to give up. Not yet.
Now is the moment where we have to be held accountable. We all have the chance to make change.
If we fail, everybody fails.
There's so much we can do.
And I really believe on being on the right side of history.
I come perhaps from a generation where the future was always brighter and better. I still believe that now.